your favorite Hercules character? And it can be from the Disney movie or it can be from the actual mythos, but who is your favorite Hercules mythos character?
Definitely not Kevin Sorbo.
That's right. Fair enough.
That guy is Cuckoo Banana Pants.
I have to actually Google who that is. Hold on here.
I don't know who that is either.
Oh, what? You never watched like the
Oh!
90s Hercules
The live
and Xena,
action.
Warrior Princess?
Yeah, the live action
No.
one. Oh, man.
Okay.
I only ever know him as Hercules. I didn't know what his real name.
Yeah.
Wasn't it like who was it? Ryan Gosling that did young Hercules?
What?
Jeez.
I don't remember that.
I think it was. Hold on.
I know The Rock did it once.
Young Hercules.
That I know.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling is young Hercules. Yeah.
Oh shit! All right.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome for that. Google that shit. That was in 1998.
Oh.
My God. Even the Disney Hercules is from 1997.
I know, right? Yeah.
Ages.
Yeah.
Welcome to the It's a Mimic podcast, where you never know what you're going to get.
Welcome back to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're gonna get. Today we're continuing our discussion on Celestials in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I'm Megan, and with me today are Casey and Kyle. And this episode is called Celestials, Goodness, Grace-ness.
I always wave whenever someone saes my name at the beginning of these episodes, and just completely forgetting that this is an audio medium.
I know, no one can see you.
I have never noticed that about you.
Put your head down, Kyle.
No.
Oh my gosh. In this episode of the It's a Mimic podcast, this panel of Dungeon Masters is going to dig into some holy crap and see what some non-angelic celestials look like. Jesus Christ, Adam.
Before we get into it, I want to remind everyone that this podcast has already spent a number of episodes on Celestials. So if you're looking for info on the Felidar, Winged Bull, and Winged Lion, or Pegasus, you should check out our conversations on Archons or Mounts. But before we ascend into the conversation, I have to ask, in your games, do Celestials tend to be allies or antagonists?
You want to roll? Let's roll.
Yeah, let's do it.
Might as well. That's what we do here on this podcast, right? Once again, I have to dig out a dice. Hold on.
I got 19.
Ooh,
17.
8.
Atta girl. Kyle, answer your own question.
Oh yeah, right. I did ask that. To be honest, I never use Celestials. They don't really interest me that much. I'm not a big fan of the idea of paragons of either good or evil kind of thing. But I mean, if I was to use them in my game, I don't think I would really use either. But you probably wouldn't like them if I use them, because I would just play them haughty and kind of dicks.
Like arrogant, privileged dicks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement. Like it all depends on the group that you're with, right? Like if you're playing an evil campaign, your Celestials who are naturally good beings are not going to like them. Therefore, they're going to be the antagonist of your evil group, right?
Yeah.
But I find they also like mind their own business. Therefore, if you as a mundane group of folks bother them, they're going to be kind of antagonistic because they're going to be like, get out of my space. So like, I am more important than you are. Please move aside. Thank you. Like, not even just arrogance, but just a sense of like, I legitimately could kill you with a snap of a finger, or I can read your mind and you are not a good person. Therefore, I don't want to engage with you. Right.
Yeah.
So
your concerns are beneath me.
Yeah, I have better things to do.
Yeah, I played with Adam long enough, like as a player, that I think I've seen so many Celestials, but I have never used them myself. I guess when I've DM'd, it's been not quite high enough level for me to justify introducing and, rolling with those. But we most recently, in our current campaign, had a unicorn in it.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if were you at that session?
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
We had to debate whether to free it, we had to kill it. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So that was, that was fun.
Yeah, we loved it. It was a good time. But again, it was like one of those contentious things. Like, well, this is a celestial being. I don't want to kill this. But it's like, no, trust me, I'll be fine. Kill me. It's okay. Like, are you
Yeah.
sure? Like, are you sure, Ben? Like, now is the time to kill the unicorn.
Just like closing your eyes and swinging a sword at it.
I don't even remember how I think I ended up killing it. Who killed
You
it?
did.
Yeah.
You
I
just
think-
like went in and like cut its throat.
Well, because it was suffering. It was almost dead. And it's like, trust me, if you kill me, I'll be okay. And everyone's like hoeing and humming about it. My character's like, okay, this poor beast. And like, I just like cut its head off. And I was like, all right, it's done. You're welcome, everybody. I'll take one for the team here. So I'm pretty sure she got cursed a little bit for that. But I think that was also the session I rolled a double one. And then, yeah.
It could have been.
That was a bad session.
Only you. Only you.
Only I would. Yeah. As a monk, I always miss things. It's fine.
We've previously covered quite a bit in our discussion on monsters in 5th edition. For all of those episodes and more, you can follow or subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and dozens of other podcast apps. If you would like to support us, you can donate through the website, check out our store, or join our Patreon and get access to other episodes and series. If you would like to pay for some ad space on It's a Mimic, or just send a shout out to a friend, please reach out to us through our email and website that are listed in the show notes below.
Hey, this is Adam with a quick reminder to check out our Patreon if you haven't already. All patrons do get access to the Patreon-only Discord, but the real gem, of course, is the additional bonus episodes that you'll get. For Copper Wormling tier patrons, there are all of the Campaign Builder episodes, including all of Tier 2 and Tier 3 of play, and of course we're launching into Tier 4 pretty quickly. There's also 7 bonus episodes that Dan and I had recorded way back in the day that never got an official edit or release, and they're a part of this conversation as well. For Bronze Young patrons, there are not just the Legend Lore episodes that go into the backlog of 5th edition, but there are also some episodes about other tabletop role-playing games, and the Legend Lore online series, which breaks down all of the D&D Beyond and online material for 5th edition that has been released by Wizards of the Coast. And then of course, you also get access to the Campaign Builder episodes. For Silver and Adult tier, you get access to all of that, but also bonus episodes that have been released as supplements to regular episodes, or are just sidebar bonus rants. And the Homebrew series, where I sit down and talk about how I handle different aspects of 5th edition in unique and interesting ways at my own table. There's also the Gold Ancient tier, which gives you access to all of that stuff, as well as input on topics in some future episodes, as well as a quarterly special episode featuring at least one host dedicated to answering any specific questions that you have about D&D, so it's kind of like a personal mailbag. And then, of course, there's the Metallic Great Worm, which you guys hear all of the time, where there's a Zoom call with at least one host that's going to be recorded and released as a bonus episode every handful of months. So for those of you who haven't checked out the Patreon, or you're not quite sure if it's for you, I hope this breakdown helps a little bit, and I look forward to chatting with you guys at the very least in the comments on the public forum. Anyway, let's get back to the episode.
All right, let's roll dice. Each of us has a celestial we get to talk about today, so let's figure out who gets to go first.
Oh, all right.
12.
5.
14.
All right, Kyle, going first with 14. What do you got for us?
All right. So I got the Ki-rin. So this, the Ki-rin is inspired by East Asian mythology, and you can find versions of this animal in Japanese, Chinese, and Korean culture. I will save myself the embarrassment of trying to pronounce the names because I don't have a clue. Like one of them is spelled Q-I-L-I-N. So,
Spell what? Sorry, what?
Megan, help him out.
Q-I-L-I-N.
Quillen? Jay Quillen?
Yeah.
Jay Quillen? I don't know.
So in each of these mythologies, it is often described as a chimera-like creature with the body of a deer, the tail of an ox, and with hooves and sometimes scales or a mane of fire, and said to be gentle and benevolent creature that is considered a symbol of good fortune, prosperity, and serenity. In Chinese mythology, the Guilin is one of the 4 noble animals, along with the dragon, phoenix, and tortoise, and believed to appear during times of peace and prosperity when heralding the arrival of a wise and just ruler or the birth of a great sage. It is also said to bring blessings and protections to those that it encounters. In Japanese mythology, it is similarly associated with good omens, protection, and harmony, often being depicted as a gentle and elegant creature that is sometimes associated with the Buddhist concept of compassion. And finally, in Korean mythology, it is considered to be a symbol of longevity and happiness, also bringing good fortune to those who encounter it. Now, in D&D, Ki-rins look somewhere between a dragon and a unicorn, and depending on which god they serve and what function they fulfill, they will lean more to one side or the other. Those that fall more towards the unicorn in looks will often serve as guardians and protectors, while those that look more dragon-like will be the type to take the fight to evil wherever it may lurk. Regardless of their particular job, however, they do share a number of similarities. All Ki-rins somewhat resemble muscular stags the size of elephants, with coppery hooves and spiral-shaped horns above violet eyes, while their bodies are covered in golden scales and lined in places with golden fur to match their dark gold manes and tails. And as they fly, the mane and scales kind of ripple, giving the illusion that they are ablaze with holy fire, and filling those lucky enough to catch sight of one with a sense of awe or dread, depending on where they fall in the alignment scale. I should point out that though a single horn is in the center of their foreheads is the most common type of Ki-rin, a more aggressive Ki-rin will likely have more aggressive antlers, sometimes having two horns or instead a massive set of antlers like a moose. The Ki-rins are also of two worlds. So in the outer planes, they can often be found in the service of good deities, taking a direct role in the eternal struggle between good and evil. While in the mortal world, the Ki-rins work more as guardians of secret places and harbingers of destiny and a proverbial thorn in the side of evil everywhere. So they are the embodiment of all things good, claiming territories to watch over on the mortal realm that are heedless of borders, but willing to go out of their way to help just societies flourish. Elsewhere among the planes, they serve their deities as scouts, messengers, or spies, choosing only deities that are dedicated to courage, loyalty, selflessness, and truth, such as Torm, Tyr, or Ilmater. Ki-rins are also incredibly wise and are often sought out by mortals for their advice and guidance, and as such, they make their lairs in difficult to reach locations like on the top of perilous mountains kind of deal, so that only those that have the tenacity to complete the daunting journey to a Ki-rin's lair can prove their worthiness. Similarly, on the celestial plane, Ki-rins are known to make their homes in lofty and elegant aeries that are often disguised by magic to appear like mundane places. They are generally filled with wondrous and fantastical items, and the entrances are generally difficult for visitors to find and reach. On the inside of these aeries, it is serene and a comfortable place, often adorned to resemble something between a temple and a palace, and acts not only as their home, but as training grounds for any students it has taken under its wing. Many of those that do make the journey to Ki-rin's lair end up pledging their service to that creature, often studying as monks under its tutelage to serve as its agents in the world. And it could also make a good celestial warlock patron. Followers of Ki-rins might dedicate themselves to traveling incognito across the land, seeking out evil while working behind the scenes to combat its influence in the world, or if they're brave and strong enough, they may act as direct champions, taking on evil wherever it may rear its ugly head. Now, because Ki-rins are known for their wisdom, Ki-rins are also seen as rare heralds of good fortune. Those that see a Ki-rin flying overhead during a birth announcement or a coronation might view it as them blessing the ceremony and telling the people that great good could come from whatever's going on. So with the Ki-rin possibly conveying gifts or omens during the ceremony before rising back into the sky and going to do its thing. Other times, Ki-rins have also been known to appear at the sites of great battles to inspire and strengthen the side of the just, or to rescue heroes from certain death. So Ki-rins in D&D are huge, lawful, good celestials with a CR of 12. They have an AC of 20, averaging about 152 hit points. They have 60 feet of walking speed, 120 feet of flying speed with hover, They've got great stats with +5s to strength, wisdom, and charisma, +4 to intelligence, and +3 to con and dex. For skills, they get a +9 to insight and perception, and a +8 to religion. They are also immune to the poison condition and poison damage. They have blind sight of 30 feet and dark vision up to 120 feet. They speak all languages as well as have telepathy up to 120 feet. They have innate spellcasting with a DC of 17, and at will they can cast gaseous form, major image at 6th level, and wind walk. Will also once per day can create food and water. I think it's weird that create food and water is only once per day, as opposed to like the gaseous form and major image, which is at will. But anyways, so they get 3 legendary resistances per day. They also have magic resistance, meaning that they have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. All their attacks count as magical for overcoming resistances. And then as well as innate spellcasting, they get regular spellcasting. They count as an 18th level spellcaster with a spell save DC of 17 and a +9 to hit with spell attacks. I won't go through all of their spells because they have quite a bit, but they are very cleric-y, right? So you got True Resurrection, Etherealness, Greater Restoration, Mass Cure Wounds kind of thing, just helping people out kind of spells. They also get a multi-attack, where they can attack 3 times, 2 times with their hooves and once with its horn. The hoof, or both of them are a +9 to hit. The hoof has a 15-foot reach, but it only does 2d4 +5 damage, which I find really low for a CR 12 creature, but I guess it makes up for it elsewhere. They also have a horn attack, which is 2d8 +5 piercing, but this one is only a 5-foot reach. Also, once again, kind of weird that their legs are so long, but I guess their neck is really short.
Yeah. It's like the same attacking distance as like, I don't know. Yeah, no, it's weird. Yeah.
Anyways, they also get legendary actions, which are pretty lame. So they get detect, which means they can make a perception or an insight check, which I don't know why you need to do that between your turns. They get smite, where they can just make a hoof attack, or they can cast sacred flame. But it says it's smite, but they don't even deal radiant damage on the smite. What the fuck?
I feel like that's something you could flavor if you wanted to, because like I also feel like you can almost custom what kind of element your Ki-rin is too.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I do realize that like it is, the one I did was all from Volos, and I should have compared the two between Monsters of the Multiverse as well, because I wonder how much they changed it.
I'm actually looking at it right now, and the legendary actions, there is smite, but it doesn't list that. What was the first thing that you said was lame for a legendary action?
Detect, so they can make a perception or an insight check.
Yeah, that's not listed. The legendary actions in this one is they can take 3 up to 3. There's move. they switched detect to move.
So amazing.
They can move up to half its speed without provoking an opportunity attack. And then the smite is either a hoof, horn, or sacred fire attack. I feel like they renamed it Sacred Fire in this book versus Sacred Flame, potentially.
Yeah, I noticed also, oh no, it's because it's one of its attacks. So in the Monsters of the Multiverse, they now do radiant damage, force damage, and radiant damage instead of just bludgeoning and piercing. And then Sacred Fire is their ranged attack spell.
Yeah.
So, and this one also deals radiant damage. So I guess this update is
maybe a little better in some ways.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely it's got the right feel.
Yeah.
They also got rid of innate spellcasting and just have regular spellcasting, and definitely trimmed down the spell lists. But still
they're
very much along.
Still clerical, like yeah,
definitely it's still clerical.
Yeah.
But that hoof attack is still 15 feet and the horn attack 5.
You can't have everything.
No one bitched enough about that for them to change it.
I feel like if you look at the art, they do have ridiculously long legs. So like
well, maybe.
Like big chicken legs.
Yeah, they've got like these like long like gazelle legs, and then like if you look at their head, it is like almost like a lion's. It's like a lion's head, so it's like it is awkwardly proportioned. So weirdly enough, I agree with the measurements.
I do
Bye.
love their majestic beards.
Yeah.
Wonder how much like mustache wax they have to use to get those kind of curls in it.
Right? Lots of work.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So they also get layer actions. So they can create a bunch of comforting stuff. So they can create permanent objects made of soft plant-based materials, including manufactured items like pillows and ropes and blankets and stuff that can collectively fill a 20-foot cube. The objects materialize 1 minute later in unoccupied spaces of the Ki-rin's choice on the floor of its lair. So it makes a great interior decorator. It can also create stone and metal items, but it can only fill a 2-foot cube, and these only last an hour this time. And then finally, they can create wood or similarly hard plant-based materials that can collectively fill a 10-foot cube. And these are also permanent. So just the stone and metal items that it creates are only going to be temporary, so only an hour. It also gets a bunch of regional effects. So blessed nature, beasts, plants, and celestials within 3 miles of the Ki-rin's lair grow more vigorous as they evolve towards an idealized form. Such creatures are rarely aggressive towards others that aren't normally prey. They can also control the weather within 3 miles of its lair, with the point of origin of the spell being the closest point outside to the center of the Ki-rin's lair. And they also don't need to concentrate on it to get the weather to change and to keep the changes going. They can also purify waters within 3 miles of their lair. And any time someone purposely tries to poison the water, the corruption is only going to last for 3 minutes.
That's cool.
Yeah, pretty nice.
It gives me Princess Mononoke vibes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I watched that movie.
There's a
Realm
lot
of Rest-
going on.
Yeah.
Like this thing is not something you're just going to come across and, geez, you're going to know a long time you are in a different world with all of the layer actions, the regional effects.
Yeah. Definitely got a Studio Ghibli feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
So they also get Realm of Respite. So curses, diseases, and poison are suppressed on creatures. So it doesn't go away, it doesn't heal them, but it does stop the effects temporarily while any good creatures are within 3 miles, unless the creatures are aberrations, fiends, or undead. And then finally, they get Safe Descents. So once again, within 3 miles of the lair, winds will kind of cushion anybody that's falling. So any creature that falls will descend at a rate of 60 feet per round and take no falling damage. Once again, aberrations, fiends, and undead don't gain this benefit and fall normally. If the Ki-rin dies, it takes up to 3 years for all these things to go away. Like most of them disappear right away, except for the blessed nature, which takes 3 years.
That's pretty cool. Like normally, like when like large celestials like this, like medium-sized celestials, I guess, like not gods, if they die, like it just goes away right away. But that's really cool that it lasts.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting effect that they evolve more quickly into an idealized form.
Yeah.
There's a great story in there somewhere.
It's neat. Speaking of, let's raise some dice, and I've got some questions about this guy. 10.
I also got a 10.
Let's roll.
9.
17.
Maybe I'll get a single digit or a double digit at some point.
There you go.
6.
Okay. I will answer my own questions first then. Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
All right. As total, we usually start with the role playing. So I'm thinking maybe potentially give us like a role playing tip for this folk or a quest plot that you might have. So for me, a role playing tip, this is one that I would play as it's going to know if you're good or evil, and it's going to know if you're in its lair kind of thing. So, but it's not going to be particularly, I think, aggressive at first. I think it's going to be like, prove to me that you are a good person and a good soul, and it's going to let you prove yourself. Like, it's not going to let your past dictate how it's going to interact with you. It's going to let you interact with it in such a way that it's going to learn from what you do, right? So, but again, I don't think you're going to come across one just randomly, especially because of the way they are and where they exist. But I feel like if you're going to see one, it's because you're hunting one or you're looking for one or so on and so forth. I also think it's like the kind of thing that like in the beginning of Pokemon that you see flying across the top of the sky, like the legendary Pokemon that you'll probably never actually catch. This is the feeling that I get from this one. It's kind of like those like mystic and like mythical like Pokemon like dogs and animals that you get only like 1 or 2 of. And like So it's just like, that's what I feel. It's like you're gonna see it in the background flying across the sky one day, and then you're like, oh, that's really cool. It's very pretty. And you're like, what is that? And you're like, I don't know. It's just very nice looking. And then you find out later down the line that it was actually a Ki-rin that was in the area, like blessing your group or something like that. But
That's sweet.
that's very cute.
Yeah.
What about you, Cal?
Yeah, I agree with you. You're not going to come across these very often. I do like the idea of trying to get to its layer. Like you could make a whole exploration pillar out of just trying to scale this unscalable mountain because they're so high and remote that they only let the most worthy of people come across them.
Yeah, and like the whole thing is they're like windy and treacherous too, specifically. Isn't that usually like part of it? Yeah. So like it's gonna be a hard pressed travel to get there. Because in my head I'm picturing Princess Mononoke where it's a forest spirit, but then I'm like, never mind, no. This is gonna be like in the middle of a mountain and like the hot water springs of a volcano kind of thing. But
yeah.
No.
And you have to like scale upside down to get into the entrance. Like it's just gonna be some crazy kind of thing. Like an obstacle course.
Yeah. Oh man. What about you, Casey?
I kind of want to use this as say at one point in your campaign, if you are playing a generally good like adventuring party, say at one point one of your players has to kind of carve off and you're splitting the party and they have to kind of play on their own for a while. This could be a really good like prove yourself one-on-one campaign for, I don't know, like even 3 or 4 sessions, because it's going to take a while for the player to, you know, figure out how to get there, how to find this creature. And then you could kind of like have them encounter a lot of the different layer, like regional effects and layer actions, and then see if they actually get there and are able to, you know, prove their worth to this Ki-rin. So I might use it as like not necessarily a one shot, but like when there's a single player needing to prove their worth or do something as a major achievement, but they have to do it on their own. This is a pretty major challenge to do. And there would be lots of like knowledge around this, where this creature is, but no one has actually seen it. So there would be lots of rumors. There would be a lot of people to talk to that would know a lot of things, but no one knows for certain what it looks like. So yeah, kind of like using it that way.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
I like the idea of also your party has to go and seek one of these out because it's the only thing with knowledge of a certain, I don't know, of a MacGuffin or anything like that.
Totally.
Right?
Or one of it, like, because it collects really phenomenal things, right? So you could easily do the, you know, it holds the 500-year-old family heirloom that is actually a like phylactery for some thing or something, you know.
I was gonna say like guardian of a phylactery would be one that it would and it would know that it's guarding it, but it would be like, I don't really care if it gets released. I've just been told that this is very important.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Okay. Actually, that's a great idea. It just has this phylactery thing, and this lich just keeps getting summoned, and it just fights it every day, just for shits and giggles, or uses it as like the training dummy for the people that are there training to become monks. And this lich is just like, just kill me already.
I like the idea that like these things they do run like a monk encampment of some kind, so that like you climb the mountain and then you get to be trained under the watchful eye of this thing, because it's written that they don't necessarily have the worshippers, but can be used as as a deity of some kind, but they technically have their own deity. So like but I think it's really cool that like they feel stronger to their god because they're being trained by a Ki-rin. And then and they're blessed and they're like naturally good folk, and like and that army might be sought out by others. So that might be the thing, is that you need to get the army of the Ki-rin on your side to help you with a big battle somewhere.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's
I
fun.
like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Exploration pieces for these. So we did talk a little about kind of like the layers and stuff like that led into how you might find one, but I mean, you can talk about maybe more about what the nester layer would look like, or just how the environment interacts with folks. I love the idea that the water is like pure And like I would almost want to like use that as an opportunity to be like, the water actually looks really gross, but when you drink it, it's the best tasting water you've ever had. So that might be a thing where like you're exploring or you're climbing this mountain, you have no idea there's a Ki-rin at the top, but for some reason all of the water here is nice, clean and pristine, and like makes you feel good when you drink it, and you have no idea why. And maybe people don't, maybe it's like people seek out this water, and like so that might be what actually kicks off your plot hook, being like you're seeking this purified like this water that's supposed to be healing, and people like go in and they collect it, and but only people that are felt deemed worthy by the Ki-rin can actually cross in to get the water. Otherwise it's a treacherous, terrible time trying to get it. So but
Cool.
but I think that it's
Yeah, I
good.
like
It's a
that.
good exploration peeler in the sense of like you can use it as a mystery, or you can use it as like it is what you're seeking, right?
Yeah.
So what about you, Cal?
That's fun. It's kind of like a fountain of youth almost
Yeah,
idea.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, honestly, I feel like this creature is built for an exploration pillar. Like it's just great. Like the whole lore behind it, right? Like that it hides in this really remote area, and then it just has this wonderful effect on stuff. And I don't know, I like the idea of, you're in a place or you get like the balance, right? Like man, I can't remember the name of the god, but it's like the god of rot and decay. And then so you're wandering through this jungle, and it's all just gross and poisonous and like just awful. And then all of a sudden it's like you step through a door and you're in this beautiful lair, or this beautiful area where there's flowers that are as big as a tree, and beautiful crystal waters. And so your party has to figure out like, oh, why is this like this? How is it different, and how can we bring this into the rest of the world? And so and then trying to get your party to, I don't know, almost like a treasure hunt for this guy.
Love it.
I would oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nope, just saying I love it. You keep going.
I would also like play with the blessed nature, where like you could just mess around with your players like for a comical effect, but not necessarily to screw them over. Like, they turn the corner and there's this giant beast that they recognize, and it looks like it's about to attack. I don't know what, like name whatever kind of scary creature that your party would not like to encounter. And it like, it like crouches down like it's ready to pounce, and then it's just like this playful teddy bear, and it's just like wanting to play, and it like lunges for a stick and then like wants you to throw a stick or something, because they're going to be larger than you are expecting them to be because of the vigorous growth that happens because they're near the Ki-rin. And then they're going to be rarely aggressive. So they're just going to be like these playful things. And the party is just going to be like, what is happening?
Yeah. Why are they so joyous?
Yeah. But that moment of like, do we attack it? Do we not? Because it like is standing in the way. And then it ends up being just super playful.
That's cute.
I don't know. I imagine like for me, my mind goes towards kind of like chimeras or like some freakish creatures that you wouldn't normally see in exactly this scenario. Maybe even like a Cerberus or something, and it's like, oh my god, we're in trouble.
What do we do? Yeah.
And then they like drop a boulder-sized ball in front of you, like, come on.
Yeah. The party shoots an arrow. Yeah. Party shoots an arrow and misses, and then it just turns around, runs, and grabs the arrow and brings it back.
Yeah.
Let's play. Oh, I love it. All right, next up is the combat conversation. Of course, at these, I feel like looking at their list and how they operate, like to your point, Kyle, they don't seem very like aggressively powerful in terms of being a CR12. But I feel like that kind of bodes well for the fact that they aren't really there to fight you. But like if they did try to fight you, I feel like you would still have a hard time killing it. And I feel like it's going to be one of those things that as you're fighting it, I would almost play it as like you're feeling worse and worse about fighting it.
Yeah.
Because it's very confused as to why you're attacking it. And it's just like, I'm sorry, but like you're in my lands, you're using my healing powers, you're using like, why are you fighting me? Right? I feel like it's going to plead and be like, what are you doing? Like I am not here to be contentious in any way, shape, or form. Like I'm here to like do good and do better. And if it senses that you're evil, I'm sure it would just run away. And it would be like, I will send my lackeys after you. I'm not fighting you, kind of thing. Right.
Okay, yeah.
That's how I feel anyways. I mean, but if you are gonna fight with it, like I would definitely like lean into its spells. And then if it's like if you get too close to it, it's gonna like trample at you with its hooves and all that kind of stuff. Like it's gonna fight back. But I feel like its instinct is gonna be to retreat.
Okay.
What do you think?
I feel like the lore behind it versus its stat block are two very different things. Like it's the lore definitely makes it seem like it is battle ready all the time. Like it trains monks. It's also out in the outer planes, like fighting evil wherever it can find it. And like, I almost think that they should have had two different styles of these, right? Like one that's like battle, and then another one that is like a protector kind of thing.
Yeah.
It would be
really cool to do like a husband and wife pair where if you adjusted the like stat block where like one is exceedingly more aggressive and the other one is more like the healing one. And then like they're just they would wander around in pairs together. I don't know why. I think that would be. I think having a little Ki-rin family is super cute and have little like Ki-rin pups running around, just wanting to play around with folks. You know.
You could go backwards, or you could have them as a really old couple where like it's the old like the female's always like nagging the male.
Yeah. Super cute. I love it.
I kind of imagine it like a type A personality and then a type B personality. Like one is just like aggressive and ready to go, and the other one's like, yo, man, just chill out. Like,
just chill.
Let's just sit back, smoke a joint, you know?
Hippie Ki-rin.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Any other final thoughts about the Ki-rin?
Nope.
No? All right. So I'm going to talk about, it's my turn, I believe, because I think Casey is rolling like shit today. So you're welcome.
Yep.
I'm going to talk about the unicorn, which can not only be found in yours truly, but also in the Monster Manual 5th edition book. Before diving into too much of their lore, I will, of course, state that they are exactly as you were imagining, the classic, large, lawfully good, white-coated, golden-maned horse with a spiraled horn on its forehead. The horn itself is made out of ivory and is kind of spun with the magic itself, and that's kind of where it gets a lot of its magic from. In fact, it's what provides a lot of healing for those lucky enough to touch it. So the main part of the lore is that these mystical creatures are put into the realms and on the plains as protectors of sacred spaces such as enchanted forests and other sacred grounds, meaning that are meaningful to the realm or the plane that they're being dropped on. So basically they're being considered as divine guardians as a result. Unicorns do allow folks to wander through their lands if they are inherently good-hearted. Most evil-hearted folks do not make it out alive, which is weird to say because when we get into the stat block, you're going to see they're not that scary. But of course, they are wildly sought after as they are thought to have the innate healing ability and can cause miracles to occur, even though this is usually reserved for those that are higher up the celestial order, such as like your higher up like monks or, just naturally good-hearted folk. It is important to note that the unicorn knows its land like the back of its hoof and knows and hears all that goes on once you step like your foot into its borders. So sneaking up on one is pretty much nearly impossible. If you do step into its domain, you will notice that the area is a place of calm and order. In fact, they do have layer actions such as fire that is non-magical is immediately extinguished. Anyone native to the lands have advantage on dex and stealth rolls. So other creatures that live within this forest that are also good-natured, just naturally good at hiding. If you are good aligned and happen to throw healing at another good aligned creature, those creatures are healed to the maximum possible roll for the heal itself. So if you're good folks and you're healing, it's going to do max heal, which is really cool. Also, any curse on any good aligned creature is suppressed. Not removed, but suppressed. So it might be a good way to like target, like trigger that you're in the lands is like your cursed wizard or your necromancer suddenly feels that the evil that's surrounding it is a little bit suppressed. The horn itself is very special and hunted item, as wizards like to use the ivory that is imbued with magic as wands or even grind it into ink and use it for a plethora of resources such as making spell scrolls and those kinds of things. So that being said, let's jump into the stats. And as I said, they're not that great. As mentioned, these are large celestial beasts with a low AC of 12, a running speed of 50, and only have about 67 average hit points. So not seemingly very resilient resilient, and it only lands them at a CR of 5. And if you look at their stats, their highest stat is strength at +4. And then everything lands at about a 2 or 3 or a 0. So nothing overly exciting. They're immune to being poisoned, as well as being charmed or paralyzed. They have dark vision of 60 feet and a passive perception of only 13. So they can speak Celestial, Elvish, Sylvan, and they also have telepathy of up to 60 feet, which I think is pretty cool. For abilities, they have what's called Charge, and this kind of fits because in my mind, they're a horse. This means that if they move up to 20 feet towards a target, they can also make a horn attack in the same move. It adds an extra 2d8 piercing from the horn attack itself. And if someone does not save on a 15 con save, they are knocked prone. So you're just being charged at by a horse with a horn on its head. On top of it, they are magical and they are spellcasters, so innate spellcasters, using charisma as their spellcasting ability. And they have spells like Detect Good and Evil, Druidcraft, and Pass Without a Trace. That's all they really have, other than that they can once per day use Calm Emotions, Dispel Good and Evil, or Entangle. So again, very passive spells. So again, they're going to be able to sense whether you're good or evil or not coming in with good energy, that kind of thing. But like, they're not very aggressive, if that makes sense. Due to this, they are, of course, magically resistant, and all attacks are considered magical, so similar to the Ki-rin. For attacks, they have multi-attack of 2 with 1 of hooves, similar to the Ki-rin, or 1 with their horn. So the hooves are +7 to hit with 2d6 +4 damage. The horn being +7 to hit with 1d8 +4 damage, or the added damage if you're charging. They can also use Healing Touch 3 times per day. They can teleport once per day. And then, of course, they have their legendary actions. So they can use their hooves to make an attack as one of them. They also have something called Shimmering Shield, where it shields either itself or another creature within 60 feet, adding +2 to their AC until the end of the unicorn's next turn. And finally, they have Heal Self, and with that basically regains the unicorn 2d8 +2 hit points. So again, very passive and very protective, but not excessively aggressive. So I feel like it's another one of those like positively good beings. But yeah, that is the unicorn. Shall we raise some dice?
Let's do it.
Do it.
17.
2.
Oh, I also got a 17.
God.
Roll off.
All right.
You guys are
11.
Another round today.
8.
What did you get, Cup?
I got an 8.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I got a 11. So I will answer my own questions again.
No, I think you're so special, dude.
I know. All right, so obviously starting off with role playing once again. Interesting plot hook or a one-shot adventure you'd like to do. I would really like to do a one-shot adventure with a unicorn, or it would just be with something that like comes in at one point because of where you're traversing. I wouldn't really utilize these as a main plot hook if not within those realms, if that makes sense. Because in my mind, they guard a very specific place. You're not going to be coming across them that often. They have a very specific purpose in life. So you really have to have your group be determined or desired to go in that direction. Otherwise, you're not really going to come across one. So this would be something like a sacred forest, and they might be protecting like a temple that was once there that maybe one of your party members worships the god of, so they know that that's going to be a safe place, right? So if you're having to do like a dungeon crawl, but you're close to a place where like this sacred area exists, your cleric or your other like good paladin person will take you here because like this is the safe space. I know this is a safe space. And because you worship the same god as what the unicorn is protecting, it might be a safe place for you to stay. So the unicorn is a protector of you, but isn't going to fight you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that would also be a very contentious thing in the role playing too. If you have that one rogue in the party that's an asshole, and the unicorn's like, yeah, everybody can come into my space and I'll take care of you, but that guy, no.
Yeah.
He has to stay outside. Outside the safe zone. He stays outside. But yeah. What about you, Cal?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more of addressing to a quest than I think an actual like the star.
Yeah.
I did play in Candlekeep. There is one of the quests revolves around a unicorn, and basically it gets corrupted by people poisoning water, and it turns into this terrible unicorn that its horn turns people into wolves, which I thought was really fun. And it's like makes a badass unicorn. But yeah, I don't
That's
know.
kinda
It's
cool.
just, yeah, yeah, definitely. This is more of a guide, taking you through. I think it's a good way of getting like exposition in a story, maybe.
Yeah.
And
And
I think
like
that's
a side quest giver or something, or just like a weird random encounter that might happen if you're in a very specific sacred space.
yeah. Or someone will send you a unicorn to lead you to where they need you to go, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I do kind of wonder, do they run in packs or are they solitary?
From what I'm reading, they're pretty solitary in the sense that like they are sent to specific spaces to protect them. So
Okay.
what I could imagine is that like if it was a very specific god or celestial being that said this area needs to be protected, I'm sending a unicorn there, that particular god would have a space where these probably roam free like a regular wild horse. So that would have to be a very specific area, I think. And then the celestial being would send them out to wherever they need to go and like put them on whatever plane they need to be. But I don't think that they would run around in packs on a regular surface like plane. But it would be cool if they did.
Yeah.
Like
It
I
would
feel
make
like,
them a lot scarier.
like in the Feywild, I feel like there would be a really cool thing to have like a horde of bees just running through the Feywild. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
yeah, you
like
have to.
a herd of wild unicorns.
Yeah.
Oh, that's actually a pretty good quest. You have to like go into the Feywild and corral a bunch of wild unicorns.
Yeah, because the god is like, they went there and now I can't get them back.
Yeah.
What about you, Casey? Anything to add for role-playing options?
Well, it seems like lots of times the focus is around like the horn, obviously.
Yeah.
And using it as a wand. I kind of want to I was thinking, okay, so what if generation after generation, this area has been protected by unicorns, but every time like the previous generation passes away, their horn is like put into some sort of sacred sarcophagus on the land. I don't know. It's like a memorial for the protectors, the unicorn protectors. And say it could go two ways. You could either someone has come in and stolen one of the unicorn horns to try and use it as a wand or use it for its magical properties, and you are tasked to track it down and then return it to the sacred lands. And of course, then you have to figure out how to find it, get it. But then as you get to go back and to the sacred lands, you encounter all of like the glorious good and beauty that is surrounding the sacred lands. And that's where you get to experience the unicorn stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could kind of use that, the something around the horn either being stolen or it will become a wand for some reason, and that could be kind of a bigger plot point if you're looking to use a unicorn. If you're just dying to use a unicorn as a bigger plot point, I think that could be a good option.
Yeah, like you need a unicorn horn to kill a specific type of beast or something along those lines. But then you have to go through that weird, like, I don't want to kill a unicorn to take its horn, right?
Yeah, so this could be that angle is, let's see if I can borrow the ancestral horn, like their great grandmother's horn.
Sounds familiar, Casey. All right. So for exploration pieces, again, these celestial beings do have some really good, very specific like layer actions and things that happen when you step place into their space. I feel like the big one I would play on for that exploration piece is that when you cross into the lands of a unicorn, it does naturally just feel like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders. Again, those who have like that are cursed or are, I feel like even if they're not just like specifically cursed, but if you are an evil playing character more on that side, you suddenly feel like you want to do good for a small period of time while you're here. And then you're going to return back to normal once you like step out of its space. I feel like that is something that can be almost written that way as like another way for the unicorn to protect itself. Like it's almost like it's put up this barrier of good feelings so that people, when they walk into its space, will not feel aggressive towards it. So if your goal is to take its horn, you're going to feel less inclined to do it when you're in its space because it naturally has that aura about it, right? So also the fact that it can do telepathy over 60 feet, like this thing's going to be hiding behind a tree in its sacred forest, and all of a sudden you're going to hear its voice in your head, right? Because it's like, what are you doing here? What do you want?
Yeah.
You know, because it can sense if you're good or evil. So it knows that, like, so if you cross into its space and you're an evil person, they're probably going to find ways to scare you out or use other beasts within its forest or within its space to attack you. As I said, like its abilities don't feel very aggressive. So I think it's going to use the environment around it. I almost feel like it's smart enough to know where all of like the like potholes and traps and rivers and other things are to keep itself protected, so that you traversing through the forest to find it is going to be a lot harder if you're evil, because it's going to be using its lair to protect itself in a strategic way, almost like turning its forest into a labyrinth just because it knows it better than you do. So I think that's a good exploration piece if you're trying to hunt one. Like it's going to be very hard because it's going to know its forest better than you. So
yeah, especially with like Pass Without a Trace.
Yeah.
It is definitely going to use the charge ability, and it's just going to come out, run in from the woods, knock you down, and then run away. And it's going to just slowly try to whittle your health away.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. I love the regional effect of open flames from a non-magical nature or extinguish. So you just like, you're walking through a forest in the middle of the night, and then all of a sudden all the torches of the party just disappear.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
And like, again, like on that concerning, like raising concern first before you reveal what the creature is. Yeah.
Yeah. I also love the idea, Megan, that you were talking about. You know, you're less likely to commit acts of evil. I just imagine that rogue that we were talking about earlier, like leaving this and just going like, so unclean, so unclean.
Yeah.
Forever changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have too much to add on exploration. I think we covered it well. It's a little less complicated than the Ki-rin for sure, but also has some unique stuff. But
I think a good way of expressing that you're in kind of a unicorn's domain is that it's like it's always summer around where it is. So you might be like the dead of winter, there's like 3 feet of snow, and then all of a sudden you take a step and that snow is gone. Every day there's fruit hanging from the trees, there's new budding flowers, kind of stuff like that. Like it's just always the ideal. You're never going to walk through a spider web. It's just kind of ideal.
Yeah, it's gonna be really quiet too, because like I feel like the creatures have that ability to also like hide themselves too. Like they have that extra like sneak and can like are easier to hide. So like you're not really gonna find creatures unless they want to be seen, right? So but
like
it's really cute. It reminds me again, it's very Princess Mononoke with the Kadamas like in the trees and like just running around, I think, hiding behind trees and just trying to guide you through. Or like even if you think of things like Brave and like will-o-wisps and things like that. And like this is going to be in the middle of those kinds of enchanted forests, right? But
and even like the plant life, I think would impede you if you're going in the wrong or the direction the unicorn doesn't want you to go, but then like part in the direction it does, like because it doesn't even want you to destroy any plant life or anything. So it's just going to like allow you to go through as it wants you to.
Yeah, because it is there to protect that space, right?
Yeah.
And then that kind of brings us into the combat conversation where, again, a lot of its spells and abilities are protective magic and like protect itself, keep itself alive, keep the friends that it feels are its friends alive. So this is something that you would want to have on your side. As I said, they're not particularly hard to kill. It's very similar to like killing a horse. But I feel like when it dies, it does say in the book that all of the layer effects disappear immediately.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a good thing to remember, that if someone does decide to kill a unicorn and take its horn, that summertime turns to winter instantly. Like all of the good water that you collected from the clean springs, mud. Like it just turns to darkness because you have killed this good creature. And like it's like that has to be a mood that is set when you kill one of these. Like I feel like that is something that a DM would have to lean into. So
oh, I like that. Yeah, like almost like nature is crying at the loss of this unicorn.
Yeah, exactly. Like has anybody seen like The Last Unicorn or like read that book? No. Guys. Oh. If you ever want to have a good cry, The Last Unicorn that's an emotional roller coaster. I think it's on the Disney Plus. I don't know. I'd have to check, but
I guess what happens.
It's an old movie. All right. Hey, Casey, anything to add for combat? Or sorry, did you have anything else, Cal?
No. No, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you kind of spoke to its
Yeah.
charging ability would be something that I would use, just running through the forest. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be really hard to kill, especially with the teleport. Like, it can just
Yeah.
disappear a mile away. The pass without a trace and tangle is going to slow you down so it can run away as well.
Yeah. Again, like very like it's running away from you. It's very protective of itself. It can keep itself alive.
It
So-
heals a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hunting it down is going to be hard. But once you get I feel like once you get a barbarian up close to it, it's going to go down in like a round or two. But it's going to be very hard to get close to it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but
Yeah, we're on the same theme as just like very defensive, evasive type abilities. And it can attack, but that's going to be the last resort kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. All right. That's it for the unicorn. Casey, I guess you're up for yours. What do you got for us?
We have managed to roll to scale down every time on our monster list today. So I am going into the monster manual for the Couatl. These
Ooh.
they are beautiful. The miniature for these also, by the way, is very beautiful. So the Couatl is a highly intelligent and insightful creature with a serpentine body and brightly colored wings. In some places you read, they are rainbow colored. You will find them in the monster manual, like I mentioned, and they were created to be guardians and caretakers by a kind-mannered god that sadly has not been worshipped since the dawn of time. So long that the Couatls are the last to even remember that god. As a celestial, any divine mandates have either been fulfilled or failed, but the nature of the Couatls results in many still watching over ancient power, waiting on prophecies to be fulfilled, or even protecting heirs of those who they protected in the past. There is plenty of other lore online that you can find around these creatures. Some state that the Couatl originates in the Saruk clans from the kingdom of Akoth in Faerun, and also mention that they typically inhabit warm jungles. But no matter what lore you look at, they are ultimately a sign of good, like ultimate good. The Couatl will stay hidden and only reveal themselves as a last resort. They cannot lie, but they can withhold information or be vague or not correct someone else's wrong information. They hold much of their knowledge as sacred promises or secrets not to be shared. Couatls do not need sustenance or even air for long periods of time and can sense the end of its life sometimes a century beforehand. It will not know how it dies, though. They are vulnerable to disease and they can die of old age. They just live a really long time. If they have fulfilled their purpose, they accept their fate. But if they haven't, then and there is a threat of imminent death, they will seek out a mate to procreate. And the mating is a beautiful ritual of magic and light, resulting in a valuable gem-like egg. The parent who sought out the mate raises the newborn, teaching it how to fulfill whatever the parent couldn't. How sad.
Yeah.
There's some tragic backstory going on here.
Yeah, so sad.
There's not nearly as much lore in the book on this one compared to even the unicorn and definitely the Ki-rin, but there's enough to work with and you can always find some more online. But let's get into the stats. So not surprisingly, the Couatl is lawful good and medium in size. They have an AC of 19 due to their serpent natural armor, and they have around 100 hit points, a speed of 30 feet, and a fly speed of 90 feet. They are a CR of 4. They have well above average stats, highest in Dex and Wisdom with a +5 modifier, and lowest in Strength and Con with a +3. They have saving throws in Constitution, Wisdom, and Charisma. They are resistant to radiant damage and immunity to psychic damage, plus bludgeoning, piercing, slashing damage from non-magical attacks. They have true sight of 120 feet and a passive perception of 15. Couatls know all languages, and as we've heard before, they have telepathy, and for them, it's 120 feet. They are capable of innate spellcasting using their charisma. It varies from at will, 3 per day or once per day, and the spells are on par with the theme we've seen in this episode. They are detect evil and good, detect thoughts, bless, create food and water, lesser restorations, shield, crying, and even greater restoration once per day, which I thought was pretty good. Its attacks are magical, that being a bite for a +8 to hit and a 1d6 +5 piercing damage, which I maybe would hope be a little bit higher, but it's only a CR4, I guess. But when it hits on a bite, the target must make a con save or be poisoned for 24 hours. And in that time, the target is unconscious until the poison ends. But another creature can use an action to shake the target awake or slap them. Other than a bite, the Couatl can constrict. So this is a +6 to hit and a 10-foot reach at 1 medium or smaller creature. A hit deals 2d6 +3 bludgeoning damage, and the target is grappled with a DC 15 to end the grapple. Until the grapple ends, the target is restrained, and the Couatl can't constrict another target. Lastly, the Couatl can change shape. It can polymorph into a humanoid or beast of a CR equal to or less than its own. It reverts to its true form if it dies, and any equipment it is wearing or carrying is absorbed or borne by the new form. In a new form, the Couatl has a blend of its original stats and the stats of the new form, and that is outlined in detail in the monster manual. It's a bit complicated and complex. I had to read it 3 times, and I think I might get it. But if you're really interested, just read through it in the monster manual. It is pretty cool that this is one difference between all of the creatures we've talked about today is the polymorph. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good, it's a little additive, right? Because we're talking about how these other celestial beings hide or run away or just non-confrontational. This one's no, I'm just going to change shape and you'll never know.
Yeah. And I think that yes, they stay hidden, but I like how it says stay hidden and only reveal themselves as a last resort, meaning they are not hiding up in the mountaintop, away from everybody. They are remaining hidden because they are pretending to be a human for the last decade or whatever, or they have integrated themselves into a civilization as some sort of humanoid creature, and they just are living their lives that way. So I thought that was also kind of clever.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah.
Or they could be someone's dog.
I was going to say, yeah.
Oh man, because it does say that they can watch over the airs, right? And so it just constantly takes the new form of a new animal.
Yeah.
Every couple of years.
That's cute.
Right? And it's CR equal to or less than its own. So that would work. Oh man, what an amazing reveal in your campaign. If your ranger's companion dog, after, I don't know, you get to level 10 or 15 or something, reveals itself to be a Couatl that's been watching every generation forever.
This also is going to be your druid cleric that has a pet, a bird or an animal that follows it around, and it doesn't even know that it's the god that it worships is one of those really old ones that no one really knows. So the Couatl's attached to them, being I have to keep you alive because you're one of the last worshippers, kind of thing. And that would be super cute. Anyways, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's roll some dice and let's ask some questions, and we'll just give our thoughts here. 6. I finally rolled a single digit, guys.
14.
I got a 4.
Casey, you get to go first for the first time.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
All right. So, role-playing aspects, obviously. So, do you have a quest or plot hook? I know we just talked about a bunch of other ones. Do you have anything else you want to add to those thoughts?
Well, this is the time that you actually, I think, get to be social with the players, because you can deceive in the sense that you're not going to correct them. So this is going to be pretty fun because you could place a Couatl anywhere and the players can interact. It could be the human sitting at the bar in the tavern. It could be someone you encounter on the road. And they know all languages. So you can throw in the telepathy if you wanted to have it a beast that ends up like falling in love with the party. But you get to actually do interactions and share information and talk to everybody. And I think that's something that we haven't seen yet, which is fun.
Yeah, for sure. Was that? Oh, I was next. Kyle, you rolled like shit.
That's right.
I mean, I would lean into the fact that it's hiding away because I feel like but it wants to be adventurous because it wants to like spread the word of its god. So I feel like it's going to have its own little secret adventure, and you're going to come across it as like a creature or like another like mundane human or something who joins your party to follow around as like spreading the word of its god.
Yeah.
So you might get like super annoyed by it, but like that it turns out to be this beautiful creature and it saves your life one day. Like,
Totally.
yeah, I love that idea. What about you, Kyle?
Okay, so you just think it's crazy because it's worshiping this god and telling you all this like outlandish ideas of how to worship that are not a thing anymore. Like you make a rock out of a pyramid, or you make a pyramid out of rocks, and that's like where you worship. That's your temple, and you just think it's this crazy dude who's trying to get you, I don't know, you schizophrenic or something.
Yeah.
Like, he's so outdated.
Yeah, stuck so far in the past that it's like obsolete. Like it's like nobody talks about this anymore for hundreds of years.
Yeah, it's like, hey man, we don't write letters to each other anymore. We send text messages. And he's just like, but what do you mean we don't write things by hand? How strange. The exploration pillar. So Casey, any thoughts around potential like details on its layers and nests that you might be additive? Because this one didn't have any layer actions or anything like that. So
again, we're sliding down to a little bit more simple, which gives you a little more freedom, but less inspiration for regional effects or layer actions. I know.
We're almost done, BB. We're almost done.
So I don't know. I feel like they're not going to. I think I see them as nomads, so it's a little hard to think about like coming across one's lair. The only time though would be if they are basically trying to procreate, and like so maybe you would come across one in its natural form because it's seeking a mate, and so it's actually trying to just be a Couatl. And it's like in search of a mate because it is going to die and it didn't fulfill what it's supposed to do. So maybe that could be how you randomly encounter them, and maybe you're going to help them do that and find a mate. And so then you end up seeking out another layer to find another one, and that's where you can add a bit of flavor to it. But kind of feel like, see, this is me thinking out loud. Maybe you do come across, you can decide if it's like a warm jungle or if it's wherever the hell you want. You come across a nest with a Couatl on it. And you better fucking explain yourself before like mama or papa goes freaking crazy that you're in the lair.
Yeah.
And I think it would be very clean and very calm. And there might be like some wind chimes and everything is really colorful.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop rambling.
All good. I feel like you're gonna come across one of these in a random like dungeon dive like encounter, in the sense where like it's staying with its old ancient temple that was once buried years and years ago under some mountain somewhere, and it's just like holding strong, try to like hopefully that the temple will become something again. But you come across it as you're like dungeon diving to go through the mountain to get to the other side. And then it's just like, what are you doing here? Are you here to, do you have time to hear about my Lord and Savior, XYZ?
It's just so excited worshippers finally showed up.
Yeah.
Because that's its mission for like millennia.
Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, today's the day.
Yeah.
Or it needed to spread the word of its god to like 10,000 humans, and you are like 9,098 and it's been there for like 10 years at 9,098 something.
Yeah.
Or
And-
9,998.
Yeah.
Like
And that's the thing is I would add this one to my random encounters list in the sense where like, because you can have like a random old temple anywhere in the world, right? Like you could be going through a forest, there'll be like an old forest temple in the corner, and it's just like, okay, random encounter one night, this Couatl's like whispering to you in the dark of night, were you wanting to come to the temple? It's just like, get out of here, Couatl. But like,
Yeah.
or you could just be on the beach, right? And there'd be like some kind of like sea god or goddess that's being worshipped somewhere on the coast, and like this thing's floating around in the water, like, hey. You know, so again, I'd add it to my random encounters list because again, it's like it doesn't really have a lot to it of like where it lives and where it exists. It's gonna be very like specific to either it's gonna be hiding and wandering around in the world trying to find folks to connect with, or it's gonna be basically just living its life in its temple waiting for folks to come to it, right?
yeah.
So
I'm really stuck on the mating ritual where it says it's a beautiful and elaborate dance of magic and light. So I imagine your party is like walking by and they just see like a rave over the next hill kind of thing, and then they go to explore and it's just these two Couatls doing like some crazy like gyrations as like lights spark and fucking.
this isn't a visual medium, but we're all like
Yeah.
doing a little bit of a jig. Like
Yeah.
I mean,
Because,
that
yeah,
serpent
just their
body.
shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like they're up on the tail, and then the wings are just going up and down, and then they like as they're doing it, it kind of looks like they're 3D printing an egg.
Oh my god. Yeah.
It's so good. Oh Lord.
I think that's how I would do it, because I think you would have to like find it accidentally unless it's revealing itself. Like it gives this crazy reveal, which would be on par with the genie from Aladdin
Yeah.
when he first comes out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Very, very like very, very mystical and transformative looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just-
And like annoyingly positive as well in like their speech and like how they speak in your head if they do, because they're just the ultimate good, right? So they're just going to be like, isn't it just a glorious day? This day could not get any better. I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah. So excited. I love this. I love it. Like, so here's the thing though. So switching into that now, finally our combat conversation here. Looking at its abilities, I feel like this sucker is a lot stronger than the unicorn is. I feel like, don't get me wrong, like they're only about 1 CR difference. So like this is CR4, the unicorn's a CR5. But even if you look at its attacks, the unicorn was only like a +7 to hit. This is a +8. And then you get a 1d6 +5 piercing with the ability to poison it. And then
way more hit points.
Yeah,
way
and-
better AC.
Yeah, the AC is astronomical. Like it's just, I just feel like it's a lot more frightening in that way. But I think maybe because of the unicorn's ability to like evade and run away and hard to catch and hit. That's what makes it a higher CR. But this thing has a 90-foot fly speed. Like it's just gonna fly straight up into the sky, and you're not gonna be able to get it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe because of its serpentine shape and that it can fly, that also makes it a higher AC in the sense that it's like just harder to hit because it's got like the scaly body and it's lean and thin. They just leaned into that.
Yeah. But this is a lower AC though than the unicorn.
Oh, what was the unicorn?
The
A
AC was
5.
12 on the unicorn. Oh,
Yeah.
CR you mean?
The CR was 5 and the AC was only 12. So what you're saying is just like just in terms of AC, yes, it's definitely the scales that give it a natural armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention as well that the Couatl's weapon attacks are magical, so it's bite and constrict attack. I like how the constrict attack is also a melee weapon attack. So I just imagine it like whipping around and then squeezing. It's like whoosh.
Yeah.
But I also, forgive me, I forgot to mention as well that it has the ability of shielded mind, which means that the Couatl is immune to scrying and to any effect that would sense its emotions, read its thoughts, or detect its location. So that's all about, it has secrets and it can't lie and all of that. So that goes along
Super
with that.
mysterious. I also like it has dream for one of its spells too, so it can reveal itself to you in a dream.
I think
right?
that's really
that's how
cool.
it kind of gets your attention.
My
It's a-
goodness. What if it gives you its mating dance ritual in your dreams?
That's cool.
Yeah.
I also like that it has scrying and greater restoration. Like, these are some abilities that I feel like the unicorn should have had. Like, now I'm looking at my unicorn like, you're so plain. You bore me.
Basic bitch unicorn.
Basic bitch. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
there's some cool stuff. And
Yeah,
that is cool.
Yeah, I also think the true sight out to 120 feet is like underrated
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
because that's a really long way, and you can see through anybody's shape-changing abilities or invisibility.
Even just stat wise, it's so much higher than the unicorn because the highest stat the unicorn had was a 4, and it also had a 0 in intelligence. What did it have? Sorry, I just made a loud noise. It had a 0 in intelligence. So
Yeah.
like it's just the math ain't mathing for me. Make it make sense. Anyways, I would not want to fight one of these. I would want to make best friends with it. I think that's my last piece of combat thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
And
Yeah, I don't see it fighting. Like it's gonna fight as a last resort. Other than that, it doesn't want to, because how is it gonna complete its mission if it's dead?
Yeah.
Right.
exactly. And for that reason, I think like it would absolutely like disengage and leave, because that is more important, fulfilling its like destiny or fate, than, you know, winning at the combat. So like unless its fate, it's seen that its fate is tied to something, like it's like, oh, I don't know how I die, but I know that I die on this day, and that day is today. And then
Here we go.
and then it's like, oh, hello there. Are you the ones that kill me?
Great.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
poor
I know in one of the campaigns, Megan, I don't know whether it's the one like that the last, 5 years that we've been playing together, or prior to that, but I absolutely know Adam, like we encountered a Couatl, and he will know exactly what happened in that encounter, and I think it ended up being good, but I have no memory of it. I just remember the mini being really pretty.
Yeah, I don't remember. I also remember the mini being very pretty, and I know I've seen it, so it may have been in ours, but we have so much shit in our campaigns that this is probably one that I sadly don't remember, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I'm sure at the time Adam was like incredibly thrilled. Knowing now what the Couatl is about, that was probably incredibly exciting to reveal. So I hope we did good in our excitement for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We always hope.
Couatls play a really big part in the backstory of Eberron as well. Like they're very important in terms of because they like a bunch of them sacrifice themselves to entrap the bad dragon, and they're just kind of a cool. They're just kind of cool.
I love that about them. Yeah. All right, so before we finish off this episode, let's cut to a quick info break.
If you've been inspired by the conversation in this episode, please feel free to reach out and share your creativity and ideas with us and the rest of the community. You can reach us on Facebook and Instagram, or on our subreddit r/itsAmimik. Also, if you're feeling particularly generous, please follow and subscribe and leave us positive reviews, likes, and comments. Engagements like that help us pop up on search engines and keep this show running.
Do you guys have any final thoughts or inspirations for these guys before we finish up this evening?
I want them to be used more. Like, we don't see them that often for very good reason. Like, you're usually a mundane group of assholes wandering through town, you know what I mean? So it's very less likely that you're going to run into them. But like, I just feel like Couatls are everywhere, and that's something I'm definitely going to start bringing into my campaigns more, is that we need more Couatls. Needs more Couatl.
Yeah.
Are you a Couatl? Are you a Couatl? That guy's definitely a Couatl.
I could start asking that to every NPC we come across in our campaign. Are you a Couatl?
You can't lie to me. Tell me the truth.
Exactly. So if it just keeps answering with questions, you know it's a Couatl.
I also like the fact that, like, with the Couatl, like, I like how we tried to cut off some, so we're just going back to talking about the Couatl. But like, I just like the idea that, like, it can't lie, but it's not going to correct you.
Yeah.
So if it's, are you going to say a thing, it's going to be like, I appreciate that you think that. It's gonna be a passive aggressive asshole. Any other final thoughts from you guys?
Or just pretend to be really flattered, like, oh, why do you think so? What makes you think I'm a Couatl?
Majestic
like
creatures.
The role playing could be so fun if you
Yeah.
wanted it.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't know. I find the other, like the unicorn and the Ki-rin, kind of, I don't know, one-dimensional.
They have a very
Right?
specific
Just-
use, and when you run into it, you run into a very specific reason, or you come across one, you know what you're in store for. Whereas I find like a Couatl does have a little bit more creative freedom to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of potential for it, and it's mysterious enough that it can really fit in anywhere.
Yeah.
Your next NPC could be a Couatl.
There you go.
Anyway, that's all for this part of our conversation on Celestials in D&D 5th edition. Please take a second to engage with a like, follow, comment, and review to help push our engagement. And don't forget to subscribe to find future inspirations for your campaigns.
If you'd like to support us, we have a store with some merch and a donate button on our website, www.itsamimic.com, as well as a Patreon. This episode and others can also be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and other podcast apps. Thanks for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get.
This has been an It's a Mimic production. Please check the show notes for this episode to see links, time codes, and credits. And don't forget to reach out and share your own inspirations.
Nailed it. There you go.
We did it. I think the three of us are good at building on each other's inspiration during the episode. Because sometimes I'm like, I got nothing, and then I'm like, oh wait.
Yeah.
That sounds so cute. I just want to do a whole mini campaign of Couatls. Everyone's a Couatl. I'm gonna give that to everybody as their secret backstory. I'm gonna, like, as a DM, everyone, when they build their character, they're gonna be like, have this amazing like human character, half elf character, whatever. And then I go, okay, but in your backstory, you're a Couatl. You can't tell anybody, but all of them are Couatls.
Oh my god! And you tell them one of your party is a Couatl, and by the end of the campaign, you have to figure out who it is.
It's gonna be a whodunit, but you're all Couatls.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the double cross. Imagine, and there's no lying.
Yeah.
The chaos of every player, just like it's like, well, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
It's gonna be that Spider-Man showdown where they have like the finger pointing at everybody.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god. Oh Lord. I love it so much. Anyways, kids, I gotta go eat dinner.
All right. Me too. Well.
All right.
All right.
Well, I'm glad you didn't have a drum circle in your basement today, child, because I was like, I don't want
Yeah.
to start any later than that. So
You and me both.
good, man. All right, kids, have a good night.
All right. See ya.
That's so ugly.